first, when I'm actually sort of reflecting back a little bit, is that, we did this exercise in Madrid as well. We looked back 1 year, and it was a very optimistic review. We were seeing open data become a part of, G20 COX and Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Climate, Agreement, and there seemed to be political buy-in happening every other day related to open data. And then now we look back, from now to last year, and we don't really see the same continuation. Certainly there are exceptions, and some good things have happened, but I'm not sure that we're not experiencing a little bit of a lull in the sort of international leadership, political participation arena. So the other thing, of course, that was happening last year was the charter had recently kicked off. 30 countries, well, not very small number, if any, countries have actually really been added to the charter over the course of the last year. Now, on the positive side, subnational governments are actually adopting the charter, and I think this is a huge step forward. So cities, regional governments adopting the charter is closer to where the data is going to have the biggest impact, usually anyways. So adopting those charter principles, I think, is very, very positive. The other thing I think that maybe is aligned with that and goes along with that is that we've seen the development and strengthening of regional networks around open data, more graphically illustrated in terms of the development of regional, large regional events in South America, and Africa, and Eastern Asia, in a way that we had not necessarily, seen before. These events are sometimes happening for the first time. Where they happened before, they're now bigger and stronger, bringing more people together, more integration with other events that are happening in other places. So that capacity for information exchange, the transference of best practices, I think is much stronger now than potentially it was previously. And I think that, if you combine that with some pretty significant, other network development activities, like open cities activities, open contracting, some areas have really, continued to increase their impact over the course of the last year. And, maybe we're going through a bit of a lull, but that opportunity to take that time and build up, more grassroots participation, I'm not sure that's a negative thing. I think that might be a positive thing. I think it depends on whether or not we're talking about political, governmental relations or civil society. I don't think the answer is necessarily the same. So I would say that with the Open Government Partnership, Canada's recent election as chair of the OGP, proud to say, although that doesn't actually come into effect till next year. But the next summit will be in Canada. I'm looking forward to that. So I think there's some positive things happening on the leadership side. As I mentioned, after the initial sort of big splash with the charter, we haven't necessarily seen a lot of countries coming forward and adopting that charter as an indication that they want to be leaders, because that's what you're doing there. On the civil society side, I would say that we've talked in the past, we talked here in Madrid about the need for greater cooperation, greater collaboration. I would say that, the issue that we're going to start talking about a lot more is sustainability. There's been a lot of amazingly excellent products and services and initiatives produced by civil society, sometimes working in partnership with governments. Over the course of the last several years, many of those initiatives are at risk, and we need those initiatives. And it seems to me that individual civil society, nonprofit organizations are going to have to start working much more effectively together in order to increase the efficiency of the use of their own resources, in order to be able to sustain these initiatives. Because I think, one thing we started talking about last year, and now we're going to continue to talk about a lot more, is the impact, the wins related to open data don't necessarily happen quickly, or they don't necessarily happen as quickly as we thought. So, we're sort of 10 years in now to open data. And I think that based on the way we talked about it, the promise, the potential of open data, we thought we'd be able to look out and see visible, traceable impact everywhere you look at this particular point. And like a lot of significant changes, both with regard to technical, innovation, but this is maybe more of a cultural change. It's taking a longer period of time. You can't do it with just technology. You have to change the mindset of people. You have to change the mindset of leaders. You have to change the mindset of governments in order to be able to make open data work. And it turns out that actually takes a little bit more time.